Do you want to run a world-class pre-order system without growing your headcount? Small teams don't have time for manual ops, but with the right automations, they don't have to. So today we're going to walk through how you can automate pre-orders with Shopify Flow out of the box. So it comes with your Shopify plan for free. And then we're going to look at using an app called PreProduct, which I work on, to add extra triggers and actions which you can use in your workflows. It was once reserved for Shopify Plus merchants, but now Shopify have opened it up to all stores, so you can take advantage of this technology today. I'm Ollie from PreProduct, and in this video, I'll show you how to build native workflows for pre-orders. I'll then show you how to push Flow even further by combining it with a pre-order app, which unlocks 31 custom triggers and actions. Before Flow, a lot of Shopify automation relied on apps or custom code, which listened to something called a webhook. Now, webhooks are great and really efficient. Now, Flow doesn't have this problem at all because it can access the whole of Shopify. So if you want to use meta fields in your workflows and your automations, that's now possible. If you wanted to listen for an order updating, but then fetch some product information and then talk to another service, you can do all of that with Flow. It really is super powerful. So I'm just in the Shopify product admin, and we're going to demo with this wool trainers product, which doesn't have any variants. And I'm going to build a Shopify Flow workflow, which looks to see whenever a product goes out of stock, it's going to see if it has this oversell tag. And if it does, where are we? A pre-order policy meta field. So we can display on our storefront some pre-order terms. And if it doesn't have that oversell, it's going to either turn the status to draft instead of active, or we might get it to move to a different collection. I'm not quite sure yet. So you can see how that would work with having a pre-order collection, having out of stock. Cool, so that's our product page. Let's hop into Flow. And Shopify Flow is made up of workflows, which are like your automation recipes. They're made up of runs. Yeah, every time a workflow runs, even if it stops straight away, that's a run. And then there's settings as well. Let's click Create Workflow and just start off. So workflows, they always start with a trigger, and you can only have one trigger per workflow. And then once you've selected a trigger, you can then combine conditions and actions. So you can say, if this is the case, do that action. If it's not the case, do something else. And maybe you could chain conditions or chain actions. And the sky really is the limit with how complex you want to get, which is kind of an art in itself. It really pays to be as simple. I know there's a Shopify trigger variant goes out of stock. So we can select that. And then we're going to do a condition, and we're going to click Add Variable. You can see here is a list of fields on the product variant. So we'll click that. And then we're going to go includes, what did I say? Oversell. Cool. So what have we got? The variant goes out of stock. Straight away we go to this check. If the tags include oversell, then we're going to add that meta field I talked about. Let me see if add or update a meta field. Okay. And select meta field, pre-order policy. Let's just keep it simple. Google.com. Cool. Otherwise, we're going to, let's change the status of it, shall we? Update product status. And we'll change it to draft. Okay, cool. I haven't really got a reason to use it here, but I really did want to show you something that I use all the time, which is again in actions, and that's Flow. And in here you've got iterate, so that's how you can loop over, for example, a product's variant, which we might use in the next more complicated run. But you've also got something called log output. So what you want to do, if you're not sure why a flow isn't working the way you expected it to work, you can do a log output. So we can go, say display name. Variant is called display name. Okay, great. So it's currently out of stock. Let's put it in stock. And then we will take it out of stock to trigger the automation. Cool. And Flow, and probably wait a second or so. And down here, You can see some failed ones I did earlier. We can trace it through. So we can visually see a variant was out of stock, check to see if a tag included oversell, which it did, and then we updated the product meta field. And then you can see these individual steps down here. And if you click step data, you can see that data down here as well. Now let's check that meta field was added. So if we refresh and scroll down, cool, we can see our pre-order policies down there. So we could use that, to communicate pre-orders on the front end. And then let's quickly just check the other scenario we had. So we'll take off the oversell, click save. Let's make sure it's active. So again, let's put that in stock, take it out of stock, and then make sure Flow marks the product as draft properly because we didn't want to oversell it. Cool. So again, let's have a little look at the diagram. Tags didn't include it, so update product status to draft, and then there's the log output, which I was talking about. So that is Shopify Flow, just scratching the surface, but that is a pre-order flow using nothing but Shopify, no pre-order apps, nothing. Okay, great. So let's now look at using PreProduct in combination with Shopify Flow. So this is the pre-order app I work on, and the nice thing about PreProduct is it adds extra functionality to Flow. So 15 custom actions and 15 custom triggers. So let's have a look at what those are. Then we'll have a look at some templates, and then we'll run one of those to see how that can help us. I'm going to create a new workflow for this, and we'll click select trigger. We can see pre-product down here, and I'm not going to read them all out one by one, but we've got a couple different types. So we've got emails. So throughout the pre-order lifecycle, the customers usually get an email when they pre-order. They may get an update email. They may get an email before they're charged, if it's a charge later pre-order. And they may get an email if that charge fails. So these are triggers that you can listen for in Flow and actually turn the emails off in pre-product. Click one of these and go action, and then use the information from that email to send it to another surface. So you may want to do that with Klaviyo, for example. Let's click that and let's track an event. And I'm not going to do the full thing, but let's click event properties, and we click email. And we can see we've got a subject and body there, which we can pull from and pipe it off to Klaviyo or another service. What else have we got? So that was email triggers, but we've also got listing triggers. So you can see here we can listen for when a listing's created, when it's finished. By listing, we mean pre-order listing. So whenever a product has a pre-order listing, it means it's or one of its variants is on pre-order. We've got limits reached, and then we've got individual pre-order triggers. So if a pre-order was paid, you may want to do something specific to that order. You may want to send an email. You can listen for when a pre-order is first created, when one's cancelled, all these different triggers you can use. But if you remember back to what I said at the beginning, you can only use one trigger per workflow. This is great, but in terms of using Flow, you'll probably be using more actions. So let's have a look at that. I'll just delete this Klaviyo event. I'm just going to change this to something to do with products. So maybe product created and then action. So these are things that you're affecting. You're creating something, not listening. So create a listing, finish listing. You can actually just get information about a listing. One of the more important ones is on pre-order. We've got things like triggering charges, syncing a listing to a template. So you could have one central place to run all your different pre-order listings from. And then we've also got things like updating listing shipping. I'm just going to quickly go into create a listing though. So you'll see here, this is all stuff you can do through the pre-order app. It's convenient that you can trigger it from here. The workflow is really powerful is you can add variables from information that you've just got. So for example, say we've got a meta field in Shopify that has got the template name that we use. We can access our meta fields something which, like I was talking about earlier, you can't access from webhooks or most app automations. So we could go product meta field, and then we can look for one of ours specifically. So it becomes really dynamic and really clever. So that's the new pre-order specific actions and triggers that you get from adding pre-product. So now let's look at some templates and workflows in this area of Flow. So this is an area where Shopify, as well as other apps, have contributed proven workflows that you can use in your store with a just kind of one-click install. So if we search for pre-order, you'll see pre-product's got some, and there's some where it works with Klaviyo, like we were looking at earlier. So you could pipe in data to Klaviyo, so Klaviyo could send emails or just enrich its kind of data for that customer or order. And then we've got things like put on pre-order when out of stock or in stock. That is just talking to pre-product. So instead of just that more rudimentary functionality in our earlier example, you could actually set things like, oh, I want this product to be deposit pre-order, but I want it to have a maximum of 200 units that I can sell. All those pre-order listing settings, you can access them through Flow programmatically. And then we've got charging. So you can trigger charges for a listing depending on certain conditions. In this case, if a tag's added. So you can imagine a store with thousands and thousands of products in their catalog. Maybe a stock shipment comes in for 52 products. You could just use Shopify to add a certain tag to 52 of those products in bulk. Then Flow will catch on to that and trigger the charges automatically. So you're literally triggering all of those pre-orders just by 2 seconds of work. And then this is the one I wanted to have a look at together. So this is toggle pre-order based on inventory and meta field. An ask we get quite a bit is, can I control pre-orders by meta field? And historically, we haven't been able to do that because then meta fields aren't included in the Shopify webhooks. However, now that Flow lets us plug into them, we can. So let's have a look at that. I'm just going to click in, yep, and then we click install. So you can see the trigger we're using is the Shopify product variant inventory quantity changed. And then we're going to see if it's got this special meta field. So we're going to see, does the product have a Flow auto pre-order meta field? And is its value true? So you could get more complex from that. This is a kind of situation where you add the meta field to products that you want to automatically go on pre-order when they're out of stock. Then we're filtering out to only variants which are in the -2 to 2 range, just so we've got a bit of margin of error. If the product's getting sold very rapidly, maybe Flow doesn't get all the events. I'm not quite sure, but it doesn't hurt to have a little margin of error there. This on pre-order action. So we're saying, is this specific variant? And if the result is true, then we're going to ask, should it be on pre-order? Let's look at the stock. If it's less than 1, we're going to say, we're just going to log that, which is good for debugging, like I spoke about earlier. It's already on pre-order like it should be. If it shouldn't be on pre-order, we're going to take it off pre-order. So we're taking listing variant off pre-order. And we're having to do that kind of branch of events because we know a pre-order listing for the product. And it's a little bit extra work to do it in a variant sensitive way like this, but I think for most stores you'll need to. And then down here, so does the product have a pre-order listing? No, it doesn't. So then we're going to say, should it be on pre-order? So i.e. is the inventory quantity less than 1? And if it should be on pre-order, then we're going to check if it's got an active listing. If it doesn't, we're going to create an active listing with just that variant in the specific variants area. And if it already does have a listing, we're going to put listing variant on pre-order by just putting the ID in there. Otherwise, we're just going to log and say everything is as it should be. So that is probably the more complicated flow we have in our template library, even though it's for a kind of very common situation. What I would recommend doing is starting off with one of these templates, and then you can start getting a bit cleverer with it and kind of tailor it to your store setup and what meta fields you guys use or what tags. And then, like I mentioned earlier, when you are creating pre-order listings, you have access to everything you have in, or most things you have in the app. So you could link it to a template. You could create a deposit pre-order listing instead of just charge up front. You could change the lead time depending on certain events. Yeah, this is a good base to start with, but that's how to control products that go out of stock and have a meta field, how to kind of put them on and off pre-order. So we really just scratched the surface in terms of what's possible with Flow. We talked about those two approaches. So number one, how can you just use Shopify with Shopify Flow out of the box, no pre-order app? Then we look to using PreProduct in conjunction with Shopify Flow. So you can hook into your pre-order app throughout the whole pre-order lifecycle of capturing and communicating a pre-order, updating customers, charging and fulfilling pre-orders, and then also connecting your various tools in your tech stack to your pre-order app. So if you want to give this a try in your store, we have a commission-only plan that you can use. So if you don't make any money with pre-orders, we won't charge you anything. And if this video helped you, I'd love a like and subscribe, and let me know if you'd like more automation content like this. Thanks.